Howdy, Dream Cowboys.
Welcome back to episode 3 of our season 1 Rewatch podcast. Tonight we're going to be recapping episode 3 of Westworld and also talking about some Westworld related topics. I'm James.
And I'm Ryan. And this is the Westworld podcast.
So there's a tiny bit of news that's tangential to Westworld, which is that the Hollywood Reporter is saying Game of Thrones Season 8, officially, it's not happening till 2019. So says the Hollywood Reporter.
So says the Hollywood Reporter, the arbiter of all things, so we know it's true. In any case, we knew Game of Thrones wasn't coming back for a long while. We knew that the schedules that HBO was going to put out that had to do with Game of Thrones and Westworld and any other flagship show they come up with within the next year or two is going to be based on the last season of Game of Thrones. I mean, they care about it. They care about the last season of Game of Thrones, and I get it. I get it, James, because I do too.
But that means that Westworld will be carrying the network on its shoulders next spring?
Yeah, most likely next spring, and it will be a standalone show, right? Like, it will have to, it's like Game of Thrones mom. I could be my own meh. And then it's like, okay, but you have to stand by yourself, and you have to be okay. And he was like, I could do it! And then we're going to see if it's actually possible. I think it will be. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, the trailer for Season 2 looks really good. I don't have any doubt it's going to be just as good as Season 1, if not better. HBO has a pretty good track record with that. They
do. I mean, the Game of Thrones track record is that they just poured more money in Season 2. I'm not sure what version of this they're going to do for Westworld, but again, I think it's going to be good too, and it's coming back sooner rather than later. Because remember, it was only a few months ago when we were like, it's probably coming back, I don't know, a century from now in the dog days of never. So springtime is much better than that.
So episode 3, we haven't mentioned this the past 2 rewatches, but directed by Neil Marshall, directed The Descent, which is a cult horror classic, and a couple episodes of Game of Thrones.
I feel like I've heard you talk about The Descent before. So perhaps the last time we watched this episode.
Yeah, but I mean, I am a big fan, so. And then the episodes that he did of Game of Thrones were the big battle scene ones, and so you get a kind of guy for an episode where you're going to have stuff like that, I guess.
Right. I mean, this scene, episode didn't really have any large set pieces, but at the same time, unless you want to call the outside a large set piece, which Westworld is outside all the time, so I don't know what you want to do there.
It was very violent, though. He's pretty good at that.
There was a lot of violence. I liked it.
So the show starts with Dolores talking to somebody, either Bernard or Arnold. I kind of think it's Arnold. And he gives her an Alice in Wonderland book, and now we know that it's the same book that he gave his son, so it's really, symbolic.
Or not at all, because it's just made up and a backstory that's not real. At some point in this episode, we go over the fact that Teddy doesn't even have a backstory, and you feel bad about it. But honestly, it might be a better life than Bernard has with his backstory, which isn't a good one. It's, his son's dead, and he talks to his ex-wife, but played by Robert Ford, most likely. Bernard's life really sucks. And to top that all off, I believe this is she's talking to Bernard, but it's mimicking Arnold's conversations with her, right? Because it's a lot of like, I'm not sure if I've done the right thing, and she's like, maybe I think you have, so just don't turn me off, please.
We get a pretty good scene with William on his own for once, so he's having a nice time because Logan's not there to bother him.
Are we just gonna skip the whole gun thing? She opened a drawer and a gun was there, and then she looked down and the gun wasn't there, and I was confused, and I don't know what happened. But I know it did happen, I don't know. Anywho,
okay, but she also had some fleeting memories of the Man in Black. Aren't you gonna mention that?
No, I'm not. I'm only gonna mention the gun.
William runs into Clementine, and there's this crazy outlaw who shoots his way out of jail, and he takes Clementine hostage. And so William gets to be a hero, but I noticed that never, like, once he grabbed Clementine, he never put the gun to her head or anything. So really, anybody could have shot that guy at any time. It's pretty level 1 mission.
Honestly, William, he wasn't even trying. He was just waiting for a proper time after he gets shot to finally do something, to save Pennyfeather Best Name. In the moment that guy took her, I knew she would be okay, but I was still concerned.
Like, he jostled her and said fucked up shit to her, but I don't think he actually hurt her, though. And he never pointed the gun at her head. He was always, like, waving it around and just kind of manhandling her.
Right, and this scene is the one that is, I think, basically put there for the audience to learn the exposition that Ben walks up and is like, "You popped your cherry. You got shot. What? Congratulations to you. Also, let's go celebrate with a robot prostitute, and because you won't be able to do so once you're married to my sister soon." And that's like Ben's whole vibe.
Yeah, Logan's pretty gross in this. He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna want to bang some hookers before you marry my sister." And William's basically like, "You know what, man? We've been doing nothing but banging robot hookers. I just want to do one adventure."
I've been calling him Ben because his name is Ben Barnes, but you are right. His name in the show is Logan. I do agree.
I just thought you two were on a first-name basis.
Yeah. We're very close. We go picnicking together in Central Park. Back in the Mesa, Teresa and Bernard have a weird feud.
And it's also a bit of a relationship catfight. Because Bernard's like, "Oh, I'm so tired, I didn't sleep a lot." And like Teresa's like, "I know you didn't sleep a lot, it didn't bother me, ha ha ha."
Yeah, I'm aware you didn't sleep a lot. We were the ones banging. I was there. Also, you're in trouble.
Yeah, she's mad. And she's like, "The board is mad." And he's like, "Who's mad? You or the board?" She said that he lied about the malfunctions being fixed. And he's like really chastened. And he looks sad.
Yeah, he does look like a sad robot.
Although I wonder, this is just his, written narrative, the way all the hosts have them, right?
Exactly. His is to just be a sad person with a very sad backstory, and he's pulling it off very well.
So then Elsie's, talking to the robot who went berserk and trying to find out about him.
Sideburns Trevor?
Sideburn Trevor's friend, Walter. Isn't that who went berserk?
He did, but I think in this scene that she's talking to Sideburns Trevor, because this is when Bernie walks in and they watch the camera footage of Walter being talked to by Arnold.
Right.
And my favorite line in that one is Walter goes, "I need more milk, Arnold. I need more milk. You haven't given me the amount of milk I need to sustain."
Bernard is like, "Oh, this whole Arnold thing is not important," and he just glosses over it, and he's like, "The real problem is that he's just malfunctioning." Which, of course, that's what he says.
Right, and Elsie's like, "Yeah, no, dude, come on. He's killed 6 hosts, and they all killed him in the past. He's literally holding a grudge." And then Bernard's like, "Interesting, you're getting very close to a very key piece of information, so what I'm going to do is send you and Ashley Stubbs into the goddamn wilderness. Good luck."
Right, and now, because we know what happens, so what's going on here? Bernard's like, "Hey, don't look into this Arnold thing, but here, go find this incriminating evidence on Teresa."
You need to ask yourself, I guess, how much of the time Bernard is actually using his improv function as opposed to, is it just Ford talking through a microphone? Because it kind of sounded like it was Ford just being like, "Yeah, don't pay attention to that. Get out of here."
The stray that they eventually find leads to the downfall of Teresa, basically. So this is all probably a setup.
Most likely, isn't the stray? It's Teresa trying to get prior. What is the word I'm looking for? Proprietary information outside of the park. It was trying to get up high to broadcast. Wasn't that what is it?
Yeah, she's trying to transmit some kind of important information to the board.
Right. So I mean, Bernard doesn't even know, but he's literally going to smash ahead over this.
Yeah, Ashley and Elsie have a little tit for tat also.
Yeah, they kind of wanted to Arya and the Hound them, I feel like put them together and see how long it goes. Although at this point, we're sitting in limbo. We're back here at the beginning of season 2 where Ashley Stubbs is pretty much alive, and we don't know that about Elsie at all. So these moments are fleeting too. Like you get these Elsie moments and you're like, oh, that's fun. Oh, sad. I don't know if that's going to ever happen again. Sad.
Yeah, I wish they would just confirm her or not already.
Confirm her or deny her, Jonah and Lisa. The gauntlet has been thrown. I don't think they're going to do it.
So we see a little bit of like Teddy's outlaw persona in that he's like a bounty hunter and he kills people because he's taking this newcomer around and they're having a grand old time.
Yeah, they do an intro quest where Teddy talks to Samuel, who has an amazing mustache. Also, all the bounty hunters in this show are ruggedly handsome. That guy who William was being told earlier in the show where he's like, if you want to come out and do my little side quest, that dude had a jawline that went forever. I was so, it's a bummer, honestly. And then Ted talks to Samuel, which is the guy with the mustache, with his new lady friend, who Samuel called her Teddy's dickless associate. And honestly, I think that should be her name, Teddy and Dickless Associate.
So I'm just going to ask you, and I want to get into it because I do want to get into it later, but I want to ask you for a few scenes coming up. This scene with Teddy and the newcomer and they run into Clementine, which timeline? White Hat William or Black Hat Man in Black? Which timeline?
Oh my gosh. That has to be... So it can't be 30 years ago, right? Because Teddy didn't exist back then. Teddy was literally created to be the William. It's William picked up the can. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you're saying Man in Black timeline.
Yeah, it has to be.
Teddy meets up with Dolores again, right? Well, his host gets seduced by Clementine, and then he runs into... Right, and then he runs into Dolores.
Yep, Clementine Pennyfeather, best name, was doing her best job at her best job. And the lady was just like, we're all down with this. I'm a dickless associate, and I'm fine with getting anything for free.
You feel bad for, like, Clementine because her role is to tell everyone that they'll get a discount.
Yeah, I mean, she's just like the cheaper lady, which is a bummer because she has the best name. And then Teddy and Dolores get in a fight.
Yeah, well, first they have, like, a romantic moment, and he's like, someday I'd like to take you out of here, and then she takes offense to that. She's like, oh, you always say someday, but you never pick a day, and it's someday is just what people say when they mean never. And for me, sometimes when I say someday, I just mean someday, not necessarily never.
He does obviously mean never. I guess not obvious. It might be obvious to Dolores at this point because she's kind of having weird flashbacks about her past, and she's just like, I don't think this is actually ever going to happen. I think you need to shit or get off the pot, Teddy. But I also do like how she's becoming more human, and the more human reaction to have is like, he says someday, and the music literally stops, and she goes, someday? Someday's a lot like never. It reminded me more of like what a girlfriend would actually say in that moment, and not what a robot would say. You know what I mean? Like, we're going someday, and you're like, someday? Really? You keep saying Sunday. I don't think it's ever going to happen, dude. Okay, and so what timeline did this happen in? Same one? No. This one is probably... this one is the William and Logan timeline 30 years ago. Okay, I thought there was a switch there, too. So the Teddy scene at the tavern and this scene are not in the same timeline. They're just edited to seem that way. Right, and then every time Bernard is wearing black in that basement down there, I'm convinced that's right before... That's basically Arnold's conversations with Dolores right before he gets himself killed, right? I think. And so, the reason I think that this is the earlier timeline is because Dolores can't shoot. But after she goes on her adventure with William, she can shoot. Right, and... the first time she ever shoots anything is in that barn that night when she rides up by herself, right? And or is that, no, that's Sideburns Trevor. Yeah, it's all very confusing. They do their whole spiel where they ride up to her cottage, because her father would never let those cows graze so far away. No, but he does it every night. He's the worst rancher that's ever lived. And they go off to their dooms, I guess. Right. Two gunshots. Screams that follow. This is the part where the machine makes the eyeball, and it's so cool.
Just like doing the eye for, like, probably a good 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Just
it's a J.J. Abrams show, so you got to look at a bunch of eyes, got to see how they're made for sure. We come in on Ford talking to Teddy about dying over 1,000 times. He says your job is to protect and keep Dolores here, because you're here for someone who wants to best the gunslinger and then basically rape Dolores. And I wrote in all caps, fun. You know what kind of life would eventually lead to perhaps someone being the one and turning on everyone and then just like becoming the emperor of the New World Order once the genocide is over? The girl who you programmed to get raped every night. What a bump. Awful. How awful Dolores' life is. I get it.
But he asked Teddy, like, how come you don't just, run away with Dolores? And he's like, oh, I got business to handle.
I wish Teddy had been like, because you didn't let me. You don't let me every night. You know this. Why are you asking me these questions?
And he's like, oh, well, Teddy, you say you have this unfinished business, but you don't actually, because we never bothered to make it specific. You just have vague angst about something that happened that you can't, get over. And he offers to, I love this, he offers to give him an interesting backstory. And he's like, would you like that, Teddy? And he just doesn't react.
Yeah, obviously. Like, he's not gonna do it if Teddy was like, nah. He had already written it. He's gonna upload it. Don't be cute with me.
Given that choice, though, I'd be like, nah, no thanks. I mean, I'd rather just have a vague backstory than one with specific painful details.
Yeah, I like being blank. Just leave me like tabula rasa, dog. Let's do this.
So the next day, we learn about Wyatt, and he's got some strange ideas.
Yep. He was Teddy's sergeant, and everything went very poorly. And now Teddy is kind of he's the someday, right? He has become the reason someday exists. He that's the reckoning. He needs to go and reckon.
Right, and so when Teddy's walking around with the newcomer, I guess in the other timeline, someone's like, hey man, Wyatt's around. Let's go handle that.
Yeah. So when you enter into the timeline things, I know what all the timelines are, right? Because we watched the whole season. We stood here and we said, okay, let's break down every timeline. There are basically like 4 of them, 3.5 of them 4. But understanding which ones you're in at any given moment is exceedingly difficult. Either way,
I just think the Wyatt stuff's happening in the later universe, because that's when, the Man in Black gets involved with Wyatt a little bit too.
Oh yeah, for sure. All the Wyatt stuff is I think leading up to Ford's little new adventure journey.
So they go on the hunt for Wyatt, and they find a dead body tied to a tree, and they get attacked by Wyatt's gang, who are dressed in like Halloween costumes.
Yeah, but they're scary. They somehow don't die very easily, and when they get attacked, they send the sheriff just gets murdered, and then they send another guy back to be like, tell them we're dead probably, and then that's what they do. Let's see. Oh, there's also that one scene where Elsie and Ashley Stubbs walks up to a group of dudes who are in a weird loop, and it's the group where the stray left, and he's the woodcutter, so they've just been talking about somebody cutting the wood for 2 days instead of doing anything. I really enjoyed that scene, and it's also the scene where the stray, you can see and watch the stray that they carved Orion into a piece of wood, and we're like, ooh, that will be important, but like, it's not.
Man, how specific are these narratives where like a single character is the one who chops the wood and no one else can be programmed with like a possibly I'll have to chop wood subroutine?
Yeah, Elsie literally says, she's like, yeah, neither of these other dudes can even touch the axe based on your new security protocols, so only one of them can do it. It's perhaps interesting that was the one that could maybe have a weapon in his hands is the one chosen to be the stray and to try to get out there and get out this information. But in either case, these guys can't make their own dinner, and Ashley Stubbs and Elsie are just laughing about it, / just trying to figure out why Orion's belt is on a piece of wood and a bear.
We get a little bit angry Ford because someone tries to cover up a naked host. He's like, no, I like them naked.
They don't have feelings, and I like to remember that they don't have feelings. Also, I'm going to scalpel this dude's face, and I'm going to make you watch.
Bernard talks to Ford, and I wonder, like, are these conversations necessary? Like, why does Ford need to, like, discuss this with Bernard, like, for his own enjoyment? He wants to have a real conversation?
The only reason this scene happened is so that we could see Robert Ford's office and how dope it is. It's such a cool office.
We get a flashback to the early days at the park.
CGI Ford, dude.
That's right. And we get some Arnold backstory. And he said that, you know, the robots used to hear the voices in their head like they were gods, and they went crazy. And it's like, oh, maybe that's what happened to Walter.
Yeah, the bicameral mind, and Ford was like, you know who listens or hears God in their heads? Lunatics. So that's what all the robots became. But so yeah, I remember how big this was when we were first watching it, because he gave us all the backstory of, like, for 3 years we lived in the park, me and my partner Arnold. He shows a picture of himself as a young man, and it looks like his father. It looks like not Arnold, right? It's like a picture of him and his father, perhaps. But he perhaps I don't think he can show Bernard a picture of Arnold because he just won't see him, right?
Yeah, he could do it, and he just wouldn't see him. Nothing to see
right.
him.
So in that picture is Ford and his father, and then at the end of this conversation is where Ford tells Bernard that Arnold died in the park, and his personal life was marked with tragedy, a lot like Bernard's is, and we called it an accident, but Arnold was very careful, so you know it probably wasn't.
Yeah, Bernard's deceased son is brought up, and so
yeah, how savage you gonna get, Ford? Don't make Arnold's mistake. Why would you think I do that? Because of your dead son, you idiot.
Yeah, thanks for piling on this pain to this fake backstory that you gave me that, you know, breaks my heart every day.
Right, and then we literally transition right from there to Bernard talking to his fake ex-wife that we later find out is basically Robert Ford sitting at a Skype with some digital thing over him, making him look like Gina Torres / Zoe from Firefly. And you know, he was talking about Arnold's pyramid, the pyramid of consciousness as well. And he said that the top of the pyramid didn't get filled, and eventually that was going to be mistakes. Everybody remember that for some whatever. And you know, we lose Gina Torres at that point because she's barely real, and Bernard's done crying about his fake dead son.
Yeah, so she's some kind of like CGI video or hologram, and I guess, like you said, Dr. Robert Ford is probably like Andy Serkising him, like with the face capture technology.
Yeah, and he's just like, he looks forward to it. There are times where he can get into another character and kind of like, you know, escape his demons. Then right after this is when Elsie and Ashley kind of get a little chummier. They have a bit more side conversation. And then Elsie goes off to take a pee behind a rock, and she hears the stray, and it's Beardy McBeardyface. After that, Teddy is also out in the night and is like, shoot at anything that moves, dickless. We can't make it out here unless you pull your own weight, my dickless associate. Dickless trips over something immediately, sees the sheriff get stabbed, a gunfight ensues. Teddy dies like usual. We literally already went over that, but it actually happens at this point. And then we go back to Elsie, who calls Bernard, because Bernard was like, call me if anything happens. So she does, and he doesn't even pick up.
Nah, he's talking to Dolores, which I think this time it is really Bernard talking to Dolores.
Right. So confusing. Anywho, Dolores is downstairs again. Bernard is wearing black again. I thought it was again in the past, but maybe it could be in the future now that he's not picking up the phone. But, you know, and then that's the conversation where Dolores is like, yeah, there aren't two versions of me. There's only one. And when I discover who I am, I'll be free. AKA, I'll kill everybody.
Right. Bernard, or possibly Arnold, tells Dolores, he's like, I gave you sentience. And like, do you want to be ignorant like all the other hosts? And she's like, nah, I'm cool like this.
Yeah, you could. Did you gain from that scene that she was manipulating Arnold, or she was trying to, like he was a human being? Like every time she asks if she did something wrong, you kind of get the feeling that she's saying that not because that's what she's programmed to do, but because she realizes that's a way to not get turned back, like to make him feel empathetic towards her.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm not too sure because based on what timeline this is, because Dolores is about to like awaken basically.
Yeah,
And
this next part is a real bummer. Dolores finds out that Teddy's dead. She's just walking through the middle of the street, and someone's just like, "Oh, that guy probably really dead." And then she's awful. She's devastated, and she walks up, or she rides up to her house. She starts saying the cow line, and then kind of stops in the middle of it, like, "Why am I still saying this? Teddy's not even here." And then as she gets up, she sees her dad's dead. Sideburns Trevor is there to say hi. And Sideburns Trevor says, no one's going to interrupt us this time. And Dolores actually says out loud, like, this time? Like, how many times have you raked me in this barn? Jesus.
And this is where she kind of abandons her loop because she shoots these guys dead with the gun. And that kind of solves our gun question from the other episode. Like, this is where Chekhov's gun gets used.
Yeah.
Not that big of a payoff, I guess. Just the next episode.
Right. So was that gun that she was hiding, or did she just take Rebus's gun off his side?
Yeah,
exactly. Anywhere.
Is that what happened? I didn't catch that detail.
It might have, because I think he goes like she has the gun, and he like kind of looks down to see where his gun is, and he's like, dang it. But either way, I honestly don't know. And whatever. In any case, right before she pulls the trigger, she literally hears a voice in her head, the Arnold voice, that says, "Kill him." She's surprised with herself. She gets out of the barn, right to see her mom get shot. Perfect. And then she gets shot, I think, in the stomach, but she holds her place, like it doesn't affect her, or I think she gets shot. Like, she gets shot in the stomach, but she's holding it, and like nothing happens. So you don't know what actually. You're not exactly sure what's going on there, but she's not dead. So that's the point. Dolores rides off at that moment, out of her loop, and with a gun. Right? Or does she still have the gun? She might have dropped it. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't even know which gun it is. So.
Right. Exactly. We watched this show diligently.
Stubbs and Elsie try to, like, I don't know, unwedge the host that's trapped.
Yeah, Stubbs belays down to Beardy McBeardybot. He's like, put this one in sleep mode, as Stubbs is taking off his head with an actual large saw. The robot wakes up all of a sudden, kind of like bootstraps itself and is rebooted. And then as Elsie's just like, dude, get out of there, the robot climbs up and is about to what looks like pick up a rock and hit Elsie with the rock. But instead, he uses the rock to suicide himself, which, do you believe was a cyanide protocol, or do you believe like he was just in such pain that he wanted to die?
No, yeah, I think that this was programmed into him by Teresa or whoever. It's like, before you get caught, break the shit out of your brain.
Right. And it's a really interesting moment when he just slams that rock into his head that many times. Honestly, for the sheer reason of like, I want to know how hard you have to actually hit yourself with a rock to murder yourself. I don't have a beard, so I'll die faster, but I mean, I bet he hits himself like 3 times. I think I could do myself with 1, honestly. I have the skills.
Well, I think you probably knock yourself out. I think, humans are a little bit more durable than just like one. Yeah, you might break your neck. You could probably maybe pull through, though.
Honestly, I want someone like a dad joke to walk by, like, don't knock yourself out. And then you're like, I'd rather be dead. And then you do kill yourself with the rock.
Right, because you picked up a 300-pound rock with your superhuman strength and bludgeoned your head in.
Well, in this timeline, I have a beard, so I'm much stronger.
The cliffhanger for this episode is Dolores running into William and Logan, and she faints into William's arms.
Right, they're out there on the boring bounty hunt. Logan's like, $40,000 a day, and I'm jerking off alone in the woods playing White Hat.
Right, our favorite line for a couple episodes.
Such a good line. Actually, a wonderful line. And, and then they meet Dolores. And then I recall when they met Dolores, like, the first time we watched this, and our exact thought was, like, nothing good can come from this.
And we know it's the William timeline because William is in it.
Right, that's how we know that it's Jimmy Simpson and not Ed Harris. So this one we are sure about.
We kept saying later in the season, I'm like, I swear to God, one day Man in Black's just going to walk over to William and be like, hey, Billy, we thought that might happen. Never happened.
No.
Never a chance.
Well, we thought it would be a fun troll on the audience, on us specifically. But I think it's just something we wanted to happen because it would be a little interesting. But I'm totally fine still with them being on separate timelines. It's just more so than that. It's not the William stuff that is confusing. Obviously, in retrospect, now you see William and you're like, okay, well, I know where I am. It's more so the stuff with Teddy interspersed with this, because you have to remember any timeline that William is in and not the Men in Black, Teddy doesn't even exist yet. So this is all being edited in and out of each other, and it feels like you're not supposed to get it.
Nah, Teddy exists in the William timeline, doesn't he?
I honestly don't think he does, because Teddy was literally created to keep Dolores in her loop once William gets her out of the loop that time, because Dolores has done this journey so many times, and the final solution was to assign Teddy to pick up the can exactly like William did the moment he met her. I'm pretty sure.
But he taught Dolores how to shoot, but Dolores already knows how to shoot by the time she's had the William adventure. And she broke out of her loop in the William timeline.
It doesn't make sense for Teddy to exist yet. Unless he was changed. God, I need someone to just edit in the 10-hour long consecutive show for Westworld so I can watch it that way. I know that there are full things on the internet that you can read, and it will tell you every scene when every one of them was. But honestly, the timelines is the main trope of the first season that keeps it interesting. I'll be interested to see if they stick or stray. Ha, got 'em, with the timeline. The timeline shifts being so cryptic in the second season.
Yeah, it is. I still can't believe Jimmy Simpson is coming back. I really thought we had shut the door on the William timeline, but apparently there's more to be seen.
We're most likely going to get a whole story arc from that timeline again, and which means that we'll be in at least two timelines, post Robert Ford getting shot in the back of the head, and then William and Logan. Well, I don't know about Logan. He's on a horse somewhere. There was a fun little theory on the internet that Charlotte Hale was Logan's daughter, and that later in the series, William has the company and took everything from him, and that she's there to get revenge on the Man in Black in the long term, which would be interesting, I guess. But I mean, there are so many fan theories; it's hard to know which ones are viable.
Unless Jimmy Simpson comes back to play a William host, maybe created by Dolores, because she wants William back.
Oh my God, a William slave host would just be. Mwah.
And then we could have Jimmy Simpson Bowl, where he would fight the Man in Black.
Air horns, hype. What is hyped cannot die.
So I think we'll be back pretty soon. We've got the Emmys coming up in a week.
We do. Also, when's that? September 17th. So we'll be recording September 18th, the morning after, to either, jauntily be very happy about, all 22 of our wins, or just be really depressed and angry over Anthony Hopkins not winning, which would be an actual travesty, dude.
Yeah, you need 3 Emmys, all right? 2 isn't going to cut it.
It's really not. We need to know that Dr. Robert Ford was a generation-changing character. Hey, James.
Hmm.
So Westworld, interesting. But you also said, and I think we've only been going 40 minutes, and I got about 10 minutes left before I have to get out of here. And we wanted to have this conversation either way. We might as well just have it on air and let people go to the end of this if they don't want to hear it, but let people hear it if they want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, Game of Thrones is so long from now, and Westworld is like, I'm so glad Westworld is in the spring because I'm actually looking forward to something next year, and I'm looking forward to something that I think people will obsess over and really get into because Game of Thrones won't be for a long while. So I think people will binge a lot of season 1 and then watch season 2.
All right, well, I got a theory for you.
You do? Okay.
What if this is some kind of gonzo marketing campaign? Didn't Westworld was supposed to come back later, got pushed over to the spring. HBO could, build all the hype if they're like, guess what? Those rumors, we leaked them to the Hollywood Reporter so that you would think it was coming a long time from now, and it's actually going to come out fall 2018.
That's true, but what that would actually mean is that Game of Thrones would have to be filming right now and in the winter, which they're not, right?
They're obviously just doing top secret filming in a dome point. Somewhere.
Yeah, no, exactly. A dome outside in Spain next to the rocks. Anywho, it's a long time away. A lot of stuff has happened. You've read all the books, right?
I have.
Okay. So they've strayed. God, I hate myself. Anywho, so they've kind of gone pretty far past the books. We honestly don't know if George R.R. Martin will ever get anything out ever again. And he doesn't like to talk about his own mortality, but I think we're all concerned. And what were your actual general thoughts on this new season? Because as a book reader person.
Well, I never do myself any favors with this because the next day I always watch like the harshest Game of Thrones reviews on YouTube.
Why? I only watch one video on YouTube. I watched Alt-Shift-X's review when it comes out. And he actually, this year, was a bit more pissy than usual because he was just like, it's moving at a blistering pace, and I don't know if that's a good thing. But, I mean, everyone agreed with that. Like, everyone was like, yeah, we wish it was longer, but also it's 7 episodes. We gotta get into this.
Yeah, I also watch Alt-Shift-X, but my main one is Preston Jacobs' TV show recaps, which is nothing but him shitting on the show from a book reader's perspective in a really funny way, basically.
Okay.
And I still like the show, and I don't think a lot of this stuff will happen in the books, but I think the ultimate ending will probably be the same because that much has been said. George R. R. Martin said, like, yeah, I told them the end of the books, and that's what they do.
Right. I wonder if Viserion is going to, if that's how the wall's going to fall in. I hope everyone's watched Game of Thrones. Anyway, I just want to know if that's the way the wall's actually going to fall because it felt like that was a show thing and not a book thing. I don't know. I've never even read the books, but it just, as I was watching it, I was like, I just don't think I don't know if that will be it.
Well, without getting into huge spoiler territory, the Song of Ice and Fire fandom have all these theories that the dragons are going to be split up somehow. Maybe not necessarily to the others, the White Walkers, but maybe amongst other great houses. They might get split up and used in different kingdoms, basically.
Right. Who do they think is going to take the other dragons?
So there's the theory that Victarion Greyjoy will take one of the dragons. Sure. And there's a theory that Doran Martell will eventually get a dragon as well.
Wow, man. The books are so different. I'm not a book reader. I read books, just not those ones. And it's only because my favorite medium is television, and I want to let it lie, and I think I'm going to read them afterwards. What I wish I know that Westworld obviously had a movie, but I wish it had like a book series that Michael Crichton wrote that we could harken back to.
You know what? If they released some like original fiction, like the way they do, like, for other shows or for other movies, like Star Wars has a ton of original fiction not tied in like to the main stories necessarily, or maybe just tangentially
Right,
close
just
to
like
them.
allow something that's like, this is not full canon, but it's something based on the world.
Right, I would read like Tales of Westworld, like an authorized like.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I read all those fucking books. Like,
Yeah.
there was a book series around the Halo series, and they were not good, and I still read them.
It would be interesting, I think, if we got a book series of an epilogue within past the genocide where robots did rule the world and they were ruled by the main characters of Westworld. I would watch the crap/read the crap out of that. Although it does assume a lot of 8 seasons of television. I'm just assuming 8 seasons of television in this moment.
Right, and if that, that's how you assume it's going to end, you could have a much more tragic, humans always win ending.
That's true. HBO is one for the we're not going to do the thing you think we're going to do, and the thing we do will be way sadder.
Like how probably Tony Soprano dies at the end of The Sopranos, but we don't actually know. Spoilers, by the way.
He definitely dies. You can hear the gunshot as it goes black. I mean, come on. He's definitely dead. I didn't like that part.
So we will be back soon, either with the Emmys or maybe even something before then, if so possible.
If we are just two dickless associates looking for a good Clem and Feather penny time.
Just a couple of DAs.
Dickless associates. That lady was so unhelpful. Also, she barely comes up again. I'm not going to get back into it.
But, maybe we'll push back episode 4 of Westworld, regardless of whether it's before or after the Emmys. I think we're going to do a Western movie podcast.
Yeah. Do we want to tell them what movie we're going to watch, James? We might as well.
Well, I think it's by request. Somebody requested 3:10 to Yuma.
Ooh. The new one? There's 2 of those, right?
Yeah, I think they meant the new one. But,
Thank gosh.
Listen to that, guys. Look how easily influenced we are. Well, you want us to watch a movie? Just tell us. We do it. Whatever. Is it Western? Sure.
Sure, that somehow fits into the genre that we reside upon. We'll watch. Someone said something on Twitter, and now 2 hours of my life is dedicated. So that's how this happens.
All right, and we will see you next time for a movie review or an Emmy recap. I'm James.
And I'm Ryan. And this is the Westworld Podcast.